everyone, it's Jean from the Inky Owl Studio, and I'm here with a little update on my latest journal, which is sort of a vintage grungy um, with a theme to it of being by the letter. And so this is just a flip through of one of the signatures that I have been working on. I'm almost done with all the signatures, and I can't wait to get this finished. There you go, a little booklet in here. So that's just a little preview of my journal thus far. And today what I'd like to share with you, is I would like to share with you making an envelope, real easy, simple envelope that is eventually going to fit into the middle of my signatures. They'll go right in the middle page like that, and it will be sewn in with the signatures. And then after it's sewn in, we will glue up the sides, and then it's got this little string tie to keep it closed with. So I'd like to show you how I went about making that. It's very simple. Beginners can certainly do this. It's very easy. Actually, there's no real measuring involved. And so I started out with an 8 by 11 piece of paper, and this is pretty, it's heavy. It's not a real thin decorative paper. It's kind of a good medium weight. Wouldn't want anything too thin. It might rip a little bit. And so the first thing I do is I cut it so that this way it matches the height of my journal. I kept the length of it, however, but I did cut off a little bit so that it can fit into the journal page that way. And now I fold down about, I would say, almost 2.5 inches as I make the first fold at about 2.5 inches. Kind of gives it a pretty good flap. You might want to do more or less depending on how you like your look to be. And then that's going to fit here. And so the next fold needs to come not any further out than your page here. So I just lay it in as if it's going to fit in the signature, and then I fold it right along here so that it comes to the edge. So now we have these two folds here. And the other thing you have to watch out for is you don't really want this coming all the way up to the crease, because that way it's much more difficult to get items in and out. If this were to come all the way here, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. So as long as it's not meeting there exactly, then it doesn't matter where this falls, this way. Alrighty. Then the next thing I do is take a piece of cardstock, and I need to punch some holes for this little part of the envelope here, these little round tabs. And it's probably easiest to punch the holes by first kind of making where that little hole is going to go, the center, marking it with a pen, and then taking your circle punch and kind of eyeing it up to make sure that that is in the middle, right? And then you'll be able to punch it and hit the middle pretty well that way. It's a little bit easier doing it this way than punching out the circle and then trying to find the middle with your smaller hole punch. So you'll need to take like 4 of them, because I'm going to glue 2 together. And so after I've glued 2 together, I've kind of inked around them, if that's what you like, the look you're going for. And then I'm going to place them here, like so, in the middle and up and above one another. And I'm eyeing it up, and of course you certainly could use the ruler to get the exact middle. Then I just mark where those holes are going to be. like so. Alrighty. Now, to punch the holes, you certainly can, you can use your hole punch on this one because this one here is easy to reach. But this one you're not going to be able to reach. So if you do not have a long reach hole puncher, you can just use a pokey tool to make a hole, because the hole doesn't really have to be that, it doesn't have to look that great. Yeah, let me reach over here. Sorry, I had to go get my tool. So I have one, but like I say, you can certainly use a something sharp to make the hole. As long as your little brad goes through it, it doesn't, that's really doesn't matter all that much, because it's going to be covered with these little tabs here. So the next step then is to get your brads, and I've got these little, oops, tiny brads here, and you'll put in a little hole like this, like so, just like that. You'll have to forgive me, you're going to hear voices in the background because my husband is working out of the house for the next few weeks, and his office is just next to my craft room. So he did say he was going to try to cut down on the phone calls at this time, but you know, he can't really help it. So anyways, then you have these brads, the legs of these brads here. So sometimes if you were to put, you know, stuff in it, they can get hung up on these, you know, kind of. So to make it smoother, I just glue a piece of, you know, paper over that, and that way, you know, less likely to get hung up and don't have to worry about it as much for that. So just put some glue on there, and I just cover it up like that. Yeah, just like that. Okay. Now over here, I do not really care for this white because of the look I'm going for. And plus I don't really like this to show either. So I've taken a piece of decorative paper that I'm going to glue. I glued on the piece of paper onto the inside here to cover up where those little tabs are. And then I'm just going to trim off the excess here. I usually glue something on larger so that I can trim it while it's here rather than trying to measure and pre-measure and trying to get the exact thing to fit. I just sort of glue on so I exceed the borders and then I go back and trim it. To me, it's just faster that way. Then I like to round the corners of the cover. I kind of like that look, so I am going to round them up a little bit. There we go here. Oops, that was the wrong side. There we go. And I did ink around before, but I am just going to do these little places where I cut. Now, fold, you know, go back to your bend where you have your bend and make a fold again to reinforce it. There we go. And so now all that's left to do is to add your tie, and I am going to use some baker's thread. I had it laying out here. There we go. Just going to use some baker's thread here, or twine, baker's twine, and I just tie a good knot on one of them. Doesn't have to be the bottom, it can be the top, but I just tie a good knot around that brad. There we go. Cut off the tail. And then, let's see how much I'm going to be needing here. About like that. Okay. There we go. So there is our tie, and there is our envelope, and it's all ready now to be sewn into the signature right along here, and ready to store whatever it is that we would like to store in here. I did notice though that I probably folded it a little less of a flap on this one, more like a 2-inch rather than a 2.5 inch. So, but that's really up to you how you would like it to look. And then, like I say, you just don't want this to come all the way to the curve, because you want this to freely go up and down and be able to see what you have to pull it out. You know, you have it so you can pull it out. But you can really fold it any way you really care to. So there is our little envelope. That's really easy peasy, and it can fit quite a bit of goodies in it. I had one more thing, and that was, as I was going through, I wanted to use this bag, and it's it's a bag that you get when you buy things, and it's fairly good weight, but I wanted to have some kind of closure on here because it's such a large size that when things get put into it, they can get lost and then easily slip out. So I wanted to put a closure on here, and I decided the type of closure I wanted was going to use, again, the baker's twine, the ties, to kind of go maybe with the envelopes a little bit. And I was worried about just poking a hole in here without some reinforcement, that, if you just put a hole in here, then it could rip over time. So I went ahead and I cut out 4 circles out of a cardstock, and then of course I glued them on. So I'll just glue this one on. I glued them on the middle, and I glued at both sides. So we got that side and that side, kind of line it up a little bit there. It's pretty good. So I put the reinforcing circles on both sides, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to, so what I end up going to be putting in there is these eyelets. Oh, I'll need a bigger punch here. I'm going to put these eyelets in here. So I'm going to go through and put the hole in right around that dot, that circle, which of course, if you remember, we make the dot and then we cut the punch around it. So we'll just go around and do that, like so. There we go, and there's our holes are put in there. And now we're going to attach our brads. I have attached the eyelets inside the holes. They're in the middle. And so now what I'm going to just do is take the baker's twine and just put a little bit inside here, like so. Just put just a slight knot. Doesn't have to be super tight. Just a rather loose one there. And I'll put one over here on this side. Like so. Just a knot that isn't, like, you don't want to be so tight that it starts ripping your paper. So it'll be a little bit of a loop there. But there you go. There's that. And so now, when you sew this into your signature, and it can be sewn anywhere, but when you sew it in, it's going to look like this. And then you can put your stuff inside, and then you have a little closure to kind of keep it tucked in, and it can be kind of cute and decorative at the same time. So that's just something I wanted to share additionally for that, and just another idea of how to, you know, use your bags. And so I thank you so much for viewing. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. And a great big welcome and hugs to those that just became new subbies. I so appreciate you joining me, and I am just loving reading the comments, and I read every single one. And thank you so much for your caring and your kindness. And so I will probably be back the next time with the flip through. I'm hoping. I have to work on a cover. I have all the signatures pretty well done, but the cover might be different than what I started out with. I think I'm going to be doing a soft cover for this, but we'll see. So have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.